Hello YouTubers, welcome to my channel. In this episode 1 and 2, you're going to see me make a beautiful garden gate for my mate Mark, who's a customer and a mate. So hold tight. Hello YouTubers, in this episode you're going to see me design this gate. I'll go through the main parts of the gate and the construction. This is episode 1 and 2. In 3, you'll see me installing it at the customer's address. I hope you enjoy the video. Hold tight. The tools and materials needed for this job are lots. So, what we've got, 2 posts we're going to do at 1/850. We've got to cut the post at a 45-degree angle on that side, on the latch side. We've got the hinges at the front because the gate needs to open outwards, not inwards. What you'll see as it progresses. So we've got a brick wall either side, house and shed. So we're going to do 4x2 posts either side and cut that one at an angle. We've got 4x2 pressure treated on the gate. We're going to go 740mm width, 1800mm on the height, and then 1850mm on the posts, so it looks aesthetically pleasing. We're using feather boards in the tongue and groove down the. This is the rear, and we've got the top rail going over, which I'm going to glue and screw. I'll show you, and this is the front. So I'll show you the timber. So here you can see the wood. We've got 4x2s. We've got our 1x2, which will eat the support rail. We've got our tongue and groove, and to save me rattling out a piece, I bought a piece of decking support from Wicks, which will go with the stars at the top, which you'll see. These pens, tracers, what I do, I bring it out further than it should be. I then sharpen it, get it lovely and sharp, and then you bring it back in so that it's not too far so it doesn't break. Okay, so I use that for all my critical marking, and then I just cut up one of these Howden's ones from a not so good carpenter's pencil. So the plan now is to get the table out, get the chop saw out, get the stars and rails all cut to size, and lay the gate out so you can see it all visually to make sure you got it correct. Table just made it out of 18mm OSB. What I did, I cut some notches in the 3x2s, and that just allows for it to sit really neatly on my sawhorses, and it gives it a bit of weight, so in the wind it's pretty sturdy. I will make some sawhorses in another video. So I'm laying out the rails, the stiles and the posts on the floor so you can visually see how the gate will look, and you've made sure you've got your measurements right, make sure you've done your cut list correctly. Here he is with the old clipboard. So in this part of the video you can see me using my chop saw to cut the stiles and rails, which are the main parts of the gate, main structural parts. So I'm using a square to cut it because you can't trust the saw. Even though I've set the saw up accurately with a mitre gauge, it could be out. So, and it's all got a light on this one as well, but I still don't trust it. So I always cut it, and then I'll mark it with a little mark to show you which way to cut, either to keep the line on the left or the right to allow for the curve of the blade. Otherwise this will run out. So I'm cutting the stiles, which are the wide parts of the gate. I've got 3 to cut, and they're being cut at 548mm. And the curve of the blade is the actual thickness of the blade. So I've cut the rails, and you can see it looks a bit like the diagram I had on my clipboard. So it's starting to look a bit more like a gate now. And at least aesthetically you can see you've done it right and the measurements are all correct before you start cladding it, etc. About 34 degrees, so I'm going to go in and do some cycling. Anyway, right, I've now had my coffee and breakfast. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting the tongue and groove, which will be cladding the gate, just to make sure it all matches up and fits within the gate. And then I'm going to be gluing 4x2s together to make the archway. So this will demonstrate how I did the arch. Okay, so I've got to go in 2 passes with my circular saw because it's still a big one. This is 150 I think, but so I'm now cutting 20mm off all this face of this style, okay? So I'm going to go around it with a square. So this is the central style, so I need to cut about 20mm off it to allow for the tongue groove to overlap and be pinned onto it. Look, scrap pieces of wood so that my circular saw can rest on there, keep it straight. Clamp them onto the sideways and down. I'm on the full depth of my circular saw, so you've got to be really careful. You've got to go in and back a little bit because you don't want it kicking back. It will do. So, and take your time because the blade will get hot, especially in this weather. So here we go. It's always important to wear full PPE when doing this kind of work. So I'm carefully cutting all the way around the central stile, and then the tongue and groove will sit plumb on the gate face, and I can attach it to the central stile with pins. And here I'm cutting a cardboard template, which you'll see later, which I use to then transfer to OSB to make the proper template for the gate arch. Style rebate now with my track saw. It's just too hot to get the circs out, so I've got to go 20 deep, which will allow for the tongue and groove. You'll see as the video progresses. So I've set it all up. I only put the battery in the last minute, and I've set the depth on the cut to 20. So blade is down 20mm to allow for the tongue and groove. So just to confirm, this is the bottom stile, and I'm cutting a 20mm rebate, square rebate, so that the tongue and groove will lip onto that and can be secured at the bottom, making sure it stays strong. It will all become apparent later as the video progresses. So I'm going in a minute until tea time. I'm going to go and cycle my bike in my air-conditioned bedroom. Zwift. Right, so I've cut a rebate in the top stile. So the tongue and groove is going to go now into there, and then it will go up to there, and then that's so you can nail it, and then the top arch will be there. So we're getting there. Hold tight. Oh, if you look at it, we've got the 2 posts, 2 style rails. I get them confused, rail styles. Okay, so these are these 2. Then we've rebated that back what we just did with the track saw. Cut that back 20mm to allow these to sit slightly within the frame. It's not square, the patios. I didn't lay this patio. This will be screwed to the 4x2. Okay, I'm going to bolt the 4x2s, glue them and bolt them with big coach screws. This is the template for the arch, and I'm going to have some metal work in there, and then that will be bolted in. So bolted. Note the green marks at the top of the rails and posts. This is to allow water runoff, and will become more clear when the video is complete. Bolted in and glued, and then I'll fill the holes with a dowel, and then this is getting stained depending on how dry the moisture is in it. It should be quite dry, so I could sand it and probably stain it straight away. If there's too much moisture in it, you have to wait and let it sort of grey up a bit. So that's the progress. Alright, it's PM now, it's cooled off a bit. So what I've done, I've started to label stuff up. So this is the bottom and this is the rebate. I've lined it up so that when I move anything I know exactly where the measurements are, so it's dead, it will be dead in line, so I can square it up easier. So line, label, line, gate top. It's all labelled, so it's easy to get confused or get something back to front. So everything is all in the front, and I'll put some green tape on some of it if I'm not sure. So next thing is to drill out these. So I'm putting a bolt in here and glue, okay, and a small screw, and then I'll hide them with dowels. Okay, so this is the right hand rail. So I'm using dowels, 8mm with my dowel jig. I'll do a video on that, but there's plenty of videos on that. So I'm doweling the bottom. This is a strong one, but I'm also going to put a big coach screw through there and hide it the other side, so it'll have glue, dowels and a big screw going right through. These are just helping it locate. That's my middle one, where the feather edge will be going across it. So I'm just going to glue those in now. Glue the curved rail part, I'll show you that in a minute, and then I'll show you more of this tomorrow. So but I don't want to go into dowel joinery on this video. Okay, thank you. So this is the piece of cardboard I cut out earlier for the gate arch, and these are my two 4x2s which I glued together earlier and cut a square. So I'm placing this on top, and then I'm going to cut an exact version of this which will give me the arch shape to go on the top of the garden gate. So today, day 2 of this gate build. I'm running some bits through the table saw. I'm doing the archway, so I'm cleaning up the edges. I'm going to glue the framework together and start doing the tongue groove boards and soaking them in some wood preserver, the cut ends. So welcome to day 2. So today I am doing the cut ends as mentioned earlier. This isn't planed all round wood or milled wood, so it's not entirely accurate flat. So I'm just trimming off the edges because you get sort of rounded edges on 4x2 pressure treated wood. So I'm just cleaning up the edges. I'm using a sacrificial fence on the table saw so I don't get kicked back because it's a bit dangerous. So I'm just going to clean up the ends and then I'll be gluing and clamping them. These are the two for the arch. We've just taken that edge off. So when this is one unit glued, it becomes, there's no hole, whereas before you get that slight bevel on this wood. It's sort of rough saw wood, isn't it, pressure treated. So now glue it up. I love this Gorilla Glue, link in the description below. It's got the lid that doesn't normally clog up, but I always wipe it after each use, and I try and keep the bottle upside down. So carrying on with the glue up, just a standard glue up. So I use these little paintbrushes you can get on Amazon by 100 for £5. I'll put the link in. So yeah, they use the paintbrushes and then rinse them out of water afterwards immediately, that you can reuse them. So here you can see me, I've applied glue to both sides. Make sure both sides are all clean, and 3 clamps will do. It's important then to clean any squeeze out afterwards, otherwise it's hard to clean up later. Squeeze off out now, wet wipe, bit of bluntish usable chisel. Just take it off now, it's a lot easier. Go with the grain than doing it later. See that coming off now? That would be a nightmare to sand off later. So just finishing off, cleaning off the wood, and here you can see the shape look. So this will be on for 24 hours. So this is our top piece style. So this is where the tongue groove will go into to hide the reveal. So I'm just going to screw this on now and rub any glue on the cut ends. That will be joined. So if you get glue, you can rub glue, varnish, anything in there to those cut ends, because this is tannalized, and that end's okay. Look, so that's not cut, but that would have to be glue or wood preserver soaked overnight ideally. When you put a bit in, wind it up, and then all you have to do is turn it back a click, and that will never come out. And then when to release it, you just turn it the other way. You don't have to use this. So another example, so that's open, put your bit in, drive to secure it, make sure that's not bit right there. Okay, instead of holding that and putting the trigger and rubbing your hands, now that's sort of located in there, just twist it back. It's tight, it'll never come out. Wow! 25mm external grade screws. Don't do it up fully yet because I want to eye it down and make sure it's in line. Like that. So this is the top style of the gate. So this will then be that extra piece I think I told you about when I purchased the materials that I got, which saved me routering it out, and this will connect the metal ironmongery to the top arch of the gate. So I've just screwed it in now, and a little note on tannalized timber. So it's tannalized but only goes so far in, so if you have any cut ends you must rub glue, varnish, preserver into those,
Otherwise that's just then a standard piece of, say, whitewood or redwood. So I hope this information helps. So we're back on the middle style now, so I'm going to glue and screw this in. This is the part of the fence where we cut the 4x2 down to allow the pressure treated tongue and groove to lay over the top of it.
Do it equal at both sides so that you don't pull it to the left or right slightly. Mill. Longer pH bit to take it further in. You want the nail to be, the screw to be at least that far in. And then we'll throw a dowel in and I'll cut it later. Shouldn't do this. I'll get my hammer in a minute. Get it cut off later. So that's got a screw into there. That's got 2 dowels 8mm, which we glued and screwed yesterday. So that's a strong joint. It's raining. On any cut ends, ideally soak it in overnight. What I do is just pour a small amount at a time. This brush will take most of it. And I should put it on any of these cut ends. Okay, a few coats of that throughout the insulation or the build.
So the gate's coming along nicely now. It's starting to actually look like a gate. So here in this part you can see me, well, this is near the end of the day, you can see me put the top style piece on, which will then house the ironmongery. So I'm doweled it, I've glued it and screwed it as well. So I didn't need to use dowels, it's just practicing my jig, and it does add to the strength of it. It locates it, and then as you can see now I'm putting 130mm screw through the 4x2. This is an external grade stainless steel screw that, because tannalized timber bites into normal wood screws as mentioned earlier. So this 120mm screw goes through and it bites in the other side by at least 20mm. So that makes a very strong joint. So that's one side of the gate joined together. So now I'm going to do the other side. I'm using pocket holes and the dowels and possibly biscuits, but again you don't need to use dowels or biscuits. Glue and long correct screws would suffice, but it's nice to add these in. It makes them a bit stronger, and it's good practice to try these jigs out. So
Kreg K3. So I'll do a video on this at some point. There's loads on YouTube. So I'm drilling. I've set the collar. That's a this has been milled down to 20mm. So I've set it all up as by the depths, and we need 32mm screws, coarse thread, and it's now raining. two there, 32mm horse thread, Kreg screws. The correct drill bit, screwdriver bit. I've got my glue in there in a hole, and I've got something, a stopper to push the fence against. So I'm going to do a dry fit, biscuits in there to align it, top and bottom. So I'll work out which way I'm at, bottom. That's what I've labelled it. This is the top, that's the top. So glue, I keep my paintbrush in water and my wet wipes in water, just because it'll go off quite quick. Just dry it off on here. Just put a bit on the OSB. So I'll paint all the glue on these, and I'll show you in a minute because you've seen that. So I'm just gluing, painting each one. See there. Yeah, so little trick here I do. Make sure you're in. So clamp to clamplet. So this one wasn't quite wide enough. So the gate's like 500. So you can put one clamp against another clamp and increase it. It flexes a bit, but it works because this needed a bit of clamping. Obviously this is pressure treated, so it's not joinery grade, so it's, although it's perfect there, it's not there. So you got your biscuit in there, then we've got pocket holes in here, gone in and glued. I'm just going to do the pocket holes up there. So always remember to put your glue straight back, wipe the lid, and then pop it in my little hole I drilled in my, this is my stop block to push the gates and things up to, very handy. So 32mm coarse thread, your torque on the screwdriver, have it down to about 7, because otherwise you don't need to go too tight with these pocket holes, you'll rip them out. They're very strong the way, because they're not going into end grain. So pocket hole. Making sure it's aligned underneath. Drop down a bit there, so I might have to clamp. So that moves. See here the torque goes in. I'll read that in a sec. So maybe go up to about a 9 on the torque. That's level. Right. That's in. That's in. Style. This is the tongue groove going up. It's got, I've made a mistake on drilling, so I'll just plug that. I've got 2 screws and a biscuit and glue. The middle stars, which have been ripped, pocket holes and dowels on that side. So we've used nearly everything today just for practice. And up here, 2 pocket holes. This is connected and screwed into that. In here, biscuit and 2 100mm screws, which will go through. They're going in about that far, which is what it should be. Okay, and then that will be covered up with dowels, so this gate is bulletproof. So I've drilled out to take the 100mm screws with 8mm drill bit, and I'll dowel it with 8mm dowels. So impact driver, That just finishes the joint, the glue and the dust, so when you stain it, it doesn't show so much, and it makes it a strong joint that fills up it. So that's just a bit of glue. That's what I do on external. Just fills it up, make sure you clean it off, pack it up. And that's the sawdust from this, so it's going to be the same colour. So when it stains, you won't notice it. There you go, gate frame. Preserver, just on the cut ends, where I've ripped these down, and in the pocket hole holes, because that's new wood. Get loads in the pocket holes. Make sure it's all in there, look. If this had been stored outside in the rain, especially wicks, what they normally do in the let's get you info. Where they, in the winter, if that wood was soaking and all been together, you wouldn't do this now, you'd wait for the summer to silver it a bit so it goes grey. But because it's really dry, I did a moisture test on it, it's about 15, which is okay. That's why, instead of taking it to customers, fitting it, and then doing it next year now, or, you know, depends on the weather, I can sand it now because it's dry enough. So I'm just taking the top coat off because it looks horrible green wood. So I'm going to go over it with my orbital on a 60 grit.
So that's the end of episode 1 and 2. Hold tight for the final episode, which will show me putting the tongue and groove on, staining the gate, putting the ironmongery on, and installation at the customer's address.